and BMW were fined $1 billion by the European Commission over diesel tech anti-competitive collusion. This is actually really interesting. So this is what happened. So the so BMW and Volkswagen and associated Volkswagen's Porsche and Audi units, the European Commission found that all these German automakers colluded to impede competition in diesel emission systems. Now, how did they do this? Well, they came together and they said, "Yo, you guys want to not innovate this technology, and we'll just keep it like this." Okay, cool. And they agreed to not innovate the technology. So what happened was they agreed to fulfill the minimum standards but not compete to develop the best systems. They agreed to refrain from improving technology or offering systems that use more of the AdBlue, the chemical that neutralizes the NOx particles and makes clean emissions. That's what they add to it to actually keep it clean. And they also agreed on the sizes of the tanks of AdBlue as well as how often they should be refilled. And the EU competition commissioner Margrethe Vestager says these car makers illegally colluded to restrict competition on emissions cleaning technology in diesel cars. Today's case is about how legitimate cooperation has gone wrong. And this is interesting because it didn't hurt any of the consumer prices. So back in I think it was what was it? Back in 2019, right? Volkswagen had their emission scandal where they found out they were hacking and tweaking their technology to actually say the emissions were cleaner than they actually were. So they had to pay a bunch of fines for that, and they got smacked around for that. And what's happening today is they're saying, okay, well, if you all agree to not innovate something, you're basically becoming anti-competitive a as an industry because you're agreeing to not work to compete to make better technology, to make better greener technology. So what they're saying here is the commission sees this case and the fine as a warning to European manufacturers that it will not tolerate collusion that impedes innovation in green technology as Brussels tightens regulations on greenhouse gas emissions to fight global warming. That was from the Wall Street Journal. So that makes an interesting point. The only real what they're really talking about, what they're upset about, is the fact that they refused to innovate. They agreed to not innovate as an industry, so they were no longer competing. So they basically came together and said, "We will just going to keep it flat." And the European Commission did not like that. They said, "You should be competitive. You should be working together to compete to make better systems. You shouldn't just do it just because you don't want to." Which is interesting because I find that to be an interesting discussion because I mean I think that people should stay innovative, and I'm not really sure how the laws work specifically in this case, but I do find it interesting that they're bringing an anti-competitive collusion case against a group of people that came together and just didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like they didn't agree to fix prices, they didn't agree to fix production, but I guess they did agree to not innovate and change the policies. So they said we'll all just do the minimum and call it a day. And I think that in more socialist countries, you generally see the government regulation and you see the general ideology of the country, right? Of that national ideology from the government expected to be more accepted in all your companies, right? It's kind of viewed as like you should be working to innovate. Working against it is kind of anti-competitive. So the commission plans to publish a letter of guidance on legal cooperation, citing this case because they want to show the difference between legal and illegal cooperation, where they're saying that illegal cooperation is obviously fixing prices and fixing the market, or agreeing to not let the market become innovative, basically saying we're going to stay stagnant, whereas opposed to legal cooperation would be working together to make new technologies. So, because some critics said this will hurt and de-incentivize people from building new technologies, and they said no, our laws will actually still allow you to do those things. It just won't allow you to stop the production of them, if that makes any sense.
It does.
So that's what's happening here. So they all agreed
So
to settle and they're paying the fine.
they were not trying to make more electric vehicles, or trying to stick with their diesel vehicles.
No, so what happens is they have a system for cleaning emissions.
Yeah.
Okay. And what they all came together, what the European Commission alleges, right? Because I wasn't there. What they're alleging is between 2009 and 2014, the big five kind of German automakers came together and were having these meetings where they were basically saying, look, we hear the requirements from the country, we hear what they want us to do, but we're all going to agree that we're not going to run each other out of business or compete to make the best technology. We're all going to agree to like do the minimum standard, and that's it. That's what they agreed to do. Like, we're not going to innovate any more than that. We're going to cap it here. We're going to agree to a couple of things, and that's how the industry's going to roll. And they're viewing that as anti-competitive and saying, like, you guys are controlling the industry because you're basically like the biggest component, saying we're not going to innovate and work harder to
Gotcha.
make more
Yeah,
advanced
yeah.
products. We're just going to settle for it as it is. And the European Commission did not like that and fined
Good.
them.
get on their butts. I want flying future cars, and I want everybody competing for it, so that I could get it at a really good price.
Okay, but
I mean,
well, that's different.
there's
They
going
think
to be a
this is just-
concept car coming out that does fly, so that's going to be cool.
Well,
concept car that can fly.
Yeah, it like brings its wings out from the
So-
back, and then like
Didn't
and
they
then
already do
just
this
takes
like
off.
7
I mean,
years ago? Somebody
Yeah,
did
but this one is actually going through the tests and everything, and so it's going to get approved.
so is this going to affect
actually be
stocks?
flyable.
Oh, I think that a flying car, the immense pile of regulatory paperwork that's going to have to be filed,
Mhm.
I think we won't see flying cars till we see autonomous vehicles on the road, and I don't think we're going to see autonomous vehicles on the road as a staple for like a couple of 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, I feel
Oh,
like
I'll
flying
take that
cars
bet.
would have to
I'll
be
take that
autonomous,
autonomous vehicle
in
bet.
I think
order.
fully autonomous vehicles, not just like testing, like literally, like what you're talking about.
I say 5 to 10
60%
years.
of a,
Easy.
like 60% of New York City runs solely on autonomous vehicles.
I'd be pressed to even say like less than 5 years.
Josh says less than 5. I say no less than 15 to 20.
15 to 20. See, I'm at a 5 to 10.
Because
That's
I'm
what
thinking about the
feeling.
regulatory rules. The technology might be there, even though
I'm
we
thinking
still
about
have a
the
ways
tech,
to go on
yeah.
the tech. But we still have a ways to go. I would say maybe 5 to 10 years for the tech to be, streamlined, but another 10, 15 years after that for the regulators to, and the insurance companies to figure out how to make this a reality. Because remember, if you have an autonomous car and it gets into an accident, who's at fault?
responsible? Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is a huge problem that insurance companies do not want to get stuck foot in the bill for.
5 to
Absolutely.
10 years.
I
And
still think
regulators
there's
don't want to be
gonna-
the ones to write those laws.
They're gonna find the loophole around that. They always will. I mean, if there's a company that's able to do it and prove its safety and prove its effectiveness, I believe they're gonna find their way to crisscross right through the rules and
I don't doubt that they're going to be some
less than 5
companies that-
years. New York.
I'd say maybe within the next 10 to 15 years you find 1 or 2 instances of this in very small circuit, but I'm talking about like autonomous. Yeah, when you get your license, that's an option. You know what I mean? Like that's something that you're thinking about. I think 20, 25 years.
Okay.